So here are some shapes, and don't hit send yet, but we're going to ask you to take a look at these and just decide which one does not belong in the set, and put your answer in the chat, but don't hit send yet. Okay, and now that you've had a little bit of time to look it over, put your answer in the chat and everybody hit send. B, 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 D. Seeing a lot of different answers. I'm going to tell you right now, they're all right.
They are all correct. There's no wrong answer.
So we've got a couple of different ways you might have been thinking about this. Does anybody want to unmute or share in chat why you picked the choice that you picked? So there are a couple of different ways you can look at it. We have a lot of B's, and B is the shape with the most angles. So that was one reason to pick B. We have D. D is the one that's obviously shaded a different color, so that one stands out. Ah, B has more than 3 sides. Yep. Yep.
Thank you, Madison.
My eye was drawn to D quickly because of the different color. Yeah.
I personally chose A because to me it was upside down and the others were right side up, and the way I was just thinking about it, looking at them. Okay, thank you, Amy. Same rationale as Madison. Nobody picked C. I think C is a harder one, but it's a slightly more obtuse angle than the rest, so I can see how C could be correct too.
So we're did this exercise because we want to talk about how there's more than one way to approach a problem, and that asking the questions is part of the process.
All right, so math is shown in a lot of different ways, and it can be shown visually. So these are some mandalas, and we're going to share the link in a few minutes, but these are from they're geometric shapes separated by equal divisions, typically of a circle. So it can show patterns, it can show angles, it can show color, it can show all sorts of different things. So this is from Artful Maths. And Chelsea, if you want to go ahead and drop that into the chat. But here's the one I made. This was from a direction on their website. And they wanted us to use a protractor and all of this stuff. And I didn't have that. So I got a cup to make the big circle. I used a marker to make the little circles, and then a string to help me figure out kind of what the center of the circle was. And then a ruler to draw the lines and the boxes and kind of connect everything. So even though I didn't have all of the tools that were being asked of me, I could still make a pretty close impression of this mandala.
And I really like it. She gave it to me. I have it hanging up in my cube.
Thanks.
So we started off with some colors because for some people, math can be really scary. For others, it's not. I've talked about math phobia with some people, and they said, what is that? What is math phobia? But for some people, it can be scary.
There we go.
And so we'll just explore that a little bit. And if you want to share, drop something in the chat about a time for you that math was scary or hard.
Or someone you know, doesn't
Or
have
somebody
to be
you know, or a situation you know, or just a kind of a general kind of time or situation where math can be difficult.
So I know I did not like answering questions in class. I always knew my answer was, well, didn't always, but even if I knew my answer was right, I did not want to share it because there's that little thought in my head, well, what if I'm wrong? And if I had to go to the board and solve something, then I would just freak out. Thank you, Lindsay. Your daughter has dyscalculia and math is terribly hard for her. Yeah, my nephew has that too. And, you know, they see it differently and the numbers differently and all sorts of things. And Jason, imaginary numbers and calculus. Yep. Calculus is terrifying to me, but there's some good things. I had to take it in college. Probability and statistics, terrible time in college with word problems. Yeah, so Katrina and I both taught math as elementary school teachers. And I think seeing some of the fear that our students had kind of brought back some stuff too.
Yeah.
And Katrina, you were going to share something.
Oh, but I see Penny's got something.
In fourth grade, we had to write, multiplication tables on the board. Yeah, math races. That was terrifying. We did not do that as teachers.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So one of the many things for me as a student, and I was really struggled with math as a student. And one of the things that was hard for me is I wanted to know why we were doing it. And I always kept getting told because it's going to be important later. But I wanted to know why it was important now and what it was. I always felt like I was memorizing things I didn't understand.
Yeah. And I think one of the things with the new math or Common Core math that they call it is that they do present a lot of different ways to do things, which to those of us who did not learn those new ways, that can be a little overwhelming as well. So we want to, talk about some ways that we can make things better and easier to understand.
Okay, so here are some statistics on math anxiety, and I thought it was interesting that in the United States, approximately 93% of adults have some level of math anxiety.
Oh, that sounds about right. It's a lot of us do. So I think the study was done in Europe, but it looked at math around the world in different countries. So 59% of 15 to 16-year-olds often worry that math classes will be difficult.
33% get very tense when they complete math homework.
And 31% get nervous just doing math problems. And I know in my class, like my students, we would write stuff on whiteboards. We had whiteboard tables, so they didn't have to go up in front of everybody and do it. And it gave them a little more sense of security and confidence that they were doing it themselves, but then they helped each other out. And I think that helped a lot too. So we want to give libraries ways to help their adults and youth with different types of math.
Yeah.
So now we're going to look at when is math fun? Is there anything that made it interesting, easier to understand? If you have something you want to share, please unmute, or you can put it into the chat. Baking. Oh, yes. I relate many of my math topics to food. How many cookies can I make? How many pizzas do we need? Great with just numbers, fractions, math manipulatives, Penny says. Those are great. We're actually going to talk about some of those in a little bit.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, so many answers coming in.
Yeah, baking. Anytime baking has a practical application. Oh, pool, the game pool. Dungeons and Dragons.
Angles on pool, yeah.
Awesome.
So some great answers.
Some of those.
So for me, it was the math manipulatives that made a difference. I was, before I got my degree in education, I was working as an assistant in a preschool that had a lot of math manipulatives. And all of a sudden, when I could build the math and see it and take it apart and touch it and move it around, it started to make sense in a way that it never did for me when it was just on paper.
That's awesome. So Madison, I remember math manipulatives for beginner algebra with the scale. Thought those were so cool. Oh yeah, beginning to solve for X, feeling like a big kid. And now they do that younger and younger. So I think really having those math manipulatives is really helpful. Because it's real. You can see it, you can visualize it, you can experience it. And that makes a lot of difference to a lot of people. Anything else anybody wants to share on this?
Yeah, and I was wondering if your libraries do any math activities. Do you do math literacy with children or with adults, or do you have any activities that make math fun for your patrons? And if you want to unmute yourself, feel free to go ahead and unmute and talk or share something in chat.
Teaching fractions and graphing with candy is the best. Yes. Again, back to food. Well, that's my happy language. Sorry, Taylor, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so we do a homeschool hangout here at our library in Brevard County. We do the days we focus on math, we do math games. We'll usually do a small mini lesson, 5 to 10 minutes or so, and then we'll have the kids either break out into groups and do the game or do a game all together.
That's awesome. What age group does it typically encompass? Is it all like K-12 or?
It's K-12. Average age of our groups is about, I want to say 6 or 7 years old. So we do have a kind of broad range, but we do try to make sure the groups have at least one older kid, so that it's not all just the little kids. And then because most of them are like math puzzles or math games, it allows the older kids to have a little more accountability and be able to like help teach younger ones, and the younger ones feel a little more directed and feel like they're big kids as they participate in something that the older kids are doing as well.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And I mean, I know we used a program this past year where the kids were doing the math problems, but they were explaining it to their partner. And so if their partner thought they were wrong, they were, you know, constructively correcting them, and they were working together to solve things. And seeing them explain it to each other and help each other understand it is huge. So having the different age groups together, I think, is really great. Yeah. Are there any other hands raised that I'm missing?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I got one more page.
Looking through.
Anything else you want to share in the chat?
And if you have any favorite math resources to share with the group, we're going to share some of resources that we found later, but feel free to put them into chat at any time. Things that you've used that have been useful, either in your library or just in general.
Oh, Pay Teachers has a lot of good activities, and PBS Learning Media. There we go. Trying. Nope, went too far. No, I did right. No, went too far.
So I think you already answered this a little bit, but we have this slide. So we're going to talk a little more. What activities do you have that help with math literacy? What activities make fun or reduce anxiety? Which I think you gave some great examples there.
Well, Teachers Pay Teachers has some PBS Learning. Zern is an online in it. Rebecca put that in, but the kids do like pre-tests and stuff, and then it kind of helps them where they're struggling. But it's fun activities that they get to do. So I think that's a really great one too. Any other libraries have anything you want to share? For raised hands.
Group graphing on an anchor chart. Oh, group graphing is fun. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that activity, Taylor?
Yeah, so we often will have our anchor chart out, and then I will encourage the kids to call out, you know, where I need to shade it in. I tried this once with we did a mini activity on a paper individually with their caregivers, but, you know, I let them kind of get to a comfortable enough point, but because I could see they were getting frustrated, and then I just explained to the caregivers that it's important to let them struggle a little bit. Of course, with math talk, you know, productive struggle. But then we moved on to the anchor chart, did it all together, and that makes the kids feel a lot more comfortable. And it was a nature graphing activity. So we counted the bugs or flowers in the picture, and then we went one by one.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and anytime you can relate it to something they know about, you know, how many Pokemon of this type are there here? How many Dungeons and Dragons in this group are there? You know, you can make it more of a connection for them. Anything Minecraft or Roblox, you know, you don't have to play the games, but you can use things from that to relate to it.
Yeah, and making a connection to something that's right in front of them like that just makes it real.
So Penny's saying Flagler County has STEAM Saturdays for 5 to 10-year-olds. Oh, awesome. We put math manipulatives out with sample activities and problems for them to explore. I love that. And do they do other things besides just the math manipulatives? Like there are different tables for them to go to, Penny?
So we rotate weeks. So the first Saturday of the month would be your S for science. So when it gets to, so we have coding on technology days. We'll do Legos, and we have different other like brain flakes and Kiva planks for on the building days. But math is a real popular one. And then we cycle different activities each time math comes about. So we bought a set of balance scales. We bought a set of abacus. We bought a set of regular pan scales, rulers, tape measures. So we cycle the activities and problems each time it comes around again.
Oh, that's great. I
Yeah.
love that idea.
What are the most popular?
As far as math manipulatives,
Mhm.
probably the scales, whether it's the balance or regular pan scales, because we also put out all kinds of like beads and bulldog clips and rocks and things for them to use. So they love having fun with that.
I still remember when I was in first grade, we did a experiment with building a little boat and trying to see how many weights it could
Mhm.
hold until it sank. And I just have this vivid memory. I mean, that just burned into my memory. I just loved that. That's probably when I got excited about science.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does anybody else do any STEAM activities where they bring out math manipulatives or games for them to do on those days?
We're looking through our list to see if anybody has a hand up or wants to unmute.
Okay, so we have some things that we know some libraries are already using and incorporating.
Okay. So I heard Legos. We know a lot of libraries are doing Legos, stories with math themes, robotics, coding, which we just heard, and other STEAM activities. And the other thing I hear, I know a lot of libraries are organizing these kind of activities for their kids. And then we also hear that sometimes the adults come by and are wondering if there's a time for Legos for adults. Oh, pattern blocks. Yep.
Yep, those are great.
Do any of you do any of these STEAM type activities that adults are allowed to do?
And you can unmute or put it in the chat.
Yeah, just a yes or no, it's fine.
Sometimes adults like to play with Legos where they're not building them necessarily with their own children.
Yes, yes.
Adults working with kids, but really aimed at kids.
Yeah.
Okay, caregivers person, yeah.
A lot of
Caregivers
caregivers participate in the Lego days, yeah.
Our parents always, yes.
Parents really get into it. That's nice.
Okay. So. All right, so Chelsea's gonna drop the links into the chat for us as we kind of go through each of these. But the art we showed you was the Artful Maths. It's where I found the mandala. They have lots of other basic math concepts on there. Crocheting hyperbolic planes, which sounds very crazy and complex to me. This person made it so understandable. I can't crochet, but now I kind of want to crochet. And the explanation of how it worked, I mean, it's obviously very higher level of math concepts, but it was absolutely fascinating. And if you can get the older kids who are taking all of these high level maths into that, it's amazing. And then math storybooks, there's a lot of books that have math in them. Mathical lists books that have mathematic concepts in a fun way. It's geared towards ages 2 to 18, sorry, 2 to 18. But we often have adults and older students who are struggling with some of the lower level math concepts as well. And it can be a fun way for them to learn those concepts as well, or review those concepts.
Okay. And then some websites, Khan Academy you're probably already familiar with. This has an online collection of videos and interactive exercises that cover math concepts from counting to calculus. Math Communities has math activities and ideas for community organizations and nonprofits. Number Blocks on YouTube is a BBC British cartoon video series introducing basic math concepts in story form. And then Open Educational Resources. Open educational resources are materials for teaching or learning that are either in the public domain or have been released under a license that allows them to be freely used, shared, or changed. One good collection of math OER is the Iowa State University Library LibGuide. They've just got a really nice collection there of different OER resources.
Does anyone have other sites, apps, resources that they would like to share? You can type it in the chat or unmute and let us know, because we'd love to get a good collection going. I know we had Teachers Pay Teachers and PBS Learning and CERN earlier. Nothing right now? Awesome. Okay, so we focused a lot on oh, here's one. Young mathematicians. Oh, I haven't seen that one. That's great. Bedtime math. Thank y'all, Sarah and Kate, for sharing these. Excellent. Do you either of you want to tell us how these work or what they focused on?
I was looking over my math resources today, and the Young Mathematicians is a website that comes out of a university program, and it just has small. It's really it's for educators and family support. It's really dives deep into just like different aspects of math for children. So it's pretty. It's very mathematical.
And you put in Make Connections as well, You and Me and Math.
That one, yeah, that I just found today as well. That is actually a YMCA based program that has training materials and things like that. It seems to be all free. Again, it's like I was trying to do like a Math and Me story time, and I wasn't really trying to do too much of a deep dive in mathematical concepts, because I just felt, when people aren't coming on a regular basis, it's not like you're talking about denominators or whatever, aspects. So I was doing a little bit more like touch and feel, and let's just compare things, let's subtract, things like that. But these are very, lesson based. These two things are resources are very lesson based. So, but they give you some good ideas, and they have printables. Again, they're very serious principles, but they're really good, things to look at if you're trying to do a more serious, I think, math program.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And Kate, what is bedtime math?
Hey, yeah. So bedtime math is a lot more relaxed. It's actually I suggest to a lot of parents that come in. It's specifically designed for parents to do with their kids, like literally right at bedtime. So there's usually a short little factoid story-like paragraph. Like I pulled up one as an example. I'll put it in the chat real quick. It's about how animals sleep. And it's just a fun thing that parents can share, or it's also easy to kind of throw into a story time. Like if you're doing an animal themed story time, it's a really good little factoid to throw in there. But then it has leveled questions depending on the age of the kiddo.
Oh, that's cool.
So they have questions for like small children, and then like elementary age children, and then like older kids. So it kind of takes away the fear from that math. And just like you share a bedtime story before you go to sleep, it's a good way to incorporate some math literacy in there as well.
Oh, I like that. That's awesome. Thank you both for sharing. Anybody else have anything? All right. Well, these are some of the things that we would like to continue talking about with y'all. We're hoping to continue our math literacy and libraries discussion in a more casual kind of format. We want to call it Library Math Cafe and meet like 30-40 minutes, once a month, twice a month, whatever y'all need. sharing ideas. You bring a snack, some coffee or tea. We had both in our survey. And then we do some low stress math. We'll give you a topic. We'll do a short little lesson. We'll do something, we'll have told you the supplies you might need beforehand, and we'll do a quick little activity and no more than 30 to 40 minutes. So these are some things that libraries have mentioned that they need some help or programming with. So parents helping their kids with math. I know my kids, I could help them with the lower level math up to about 8th grade, and then high school, they're a little more on their own. And then GED math, there's, a lot of people who want to work on getting their GEDs, helping them meet those math skills. And then financial literacy, making sure adults and kids are financially literate and know, how much am I tipping? What interest am I earning? If I spend this much on my credit card, how much am I actually going to end up paying? I want to buy a car. How much do I really need to save? So these are all topics that could be for youth and adults working together that we can do some programming with. Do y'all have any other suggestions? Anything else you think we would that you would want some help with, some topics we could cover?
So we're gonna give you a couple of seconds to put some ideas in the chat, but we are hoping to, if there's an interest, let us know in the survey that you would like to continue. And Rebecca's going to drop the survey into the chat. And we're going to stop recording now, but we're going to hang out to answer questions or continue talking.
We'd love to hear from you. Any suggestions, ideas, anything you want to share?